You can buy opportunity, but you can't buy winning. You can't buy being great. You can't bypass the work. You have to take full responsibility for it. That's why sport is such a great teacher, because if you get to any kind of reasonable level, you at least get a feel for the fact that you are responsible, that you do have to do the work, and that you're not given anything just because you smile nicely or just because you're a nice person. So great to be back here. Your turn to put me on the hot seat. And you've chosen to bushwhack me and not let me know the questions in advance, which is always the interesting one. So fire away. What 2 questions do you have for me?
All right. My first question is, you're having a dinner party. You can invite 3 people, alive or dead. Who are you picking to come to the dinner party? No family members included, and why?
I would definitely have Augustus Caesar, the what do you call it? Stoic.
Good
I
one.
think, that all his writings still are so pertinent thousands of years later, and he was, arguably the best emperor of Rome. I think I would have Winston Churchill.
Very good.
Because just to experience maybe his very wicked humor and maybe get cut to pieces by him.
He'd be on my table too.
Yeah. The third one is...
Let's have someone who's alive, Dave.
Yeah. I think because in college, it was somebody that I saw who wasn't the most talented, but got to the real top. Larry Bird, the basketball player.
Oh, great one. Boston Celtics.
Because I think he's a great example of having obviously a lot of talent, but also just did it through being smart and work ethic and everything like that. And I'd love to know a bit more about his mindset and also how that mindset developed. How much was just innate, or how much did he know that he was building something?
Yeah.
Because I think that's fascinating. I mean, it's. I also, having watched last night, I just think what McIlroy has gone through. It would also be somebody that I'd be very interested to talk to, because I don't know if he hadn't have won last night, whether he would have psychologically been able to come back. Because a lot of people thought it was done after the US Open, and I think the fortitude and the way he won it, which was literally doing his best to lose it at times. And obviously all the demons that he's had to overcome to do that over such a long period of time, always being there or thereabouts, always, so I think that kind of, when you look at that pressure on somebody who has this huge monkey on their back that's been building and building for years, to get through that as well as actually win it is testament to, incredible perseverance, and I think reward for that unbelievable perseverance.
Yeah.
But I think that's also where sport is just so brutally wonderful, because Justin Rose showed great fortitude to come back, and it's somebody had to lose, and that's brutal in a way, but it's also the wonder of sport, which makes it so dramatic, so fantastic. And what I love about sport, it's totally meritocratic. Obviously people say drugs and all that stuff, but take it out, sport in its essence is, you can't get a marketing team, you can't buy it, you can buy opportunity, but you can't buy winning, you can't buy being great, you can't bypass the work. There are no, you have to take full responsibility for it. You really do.
Yes.
And I think, that's why sport is such a great teacher, because if you get to any kind of reasonable level, you at least get a feel for the fact that you are responsible, that you do have to do the work, and that you're not given anything just because you smile
Yep.
nicely or just because you're a nice person or whatever. Sport doesn't care about any of that. You've got to earn everything that you get in sport.
Completely agree.
A lot of life isn't totally like that. You can get
Yep.
by, well, which is a good thing, because there needs to be space for everybody to live. And if I always say this, if everybody was incredibly hardworking and incredibly diligent and resilient and everything like that, can you imagine how competitive the world would be? It'd be insane.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing that with my children's school. They're doing A-levels and GCSEs. They're a very nice private school.
Yeah.
I pay a lot of money. That's where all my money goes to, is to educate my children the best I can. And the competition out there is extraordinary. These kids are working so incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But I have to believe that this is going to pay off in the long run, because they're already really disciplined and putting the work in.
Yeah.
So hopefully, no matter what happens to them in life, they'll always be all right.
Well, that's a great question. And the other person, if it wasn't Augustus, it would be Seneca, which is the same sort of thing. Seneca would probably be more entertaining than
I love a philosopher, someone like Alain de Botton. I find it incredible. Just the stuff that they come out with. I listened to him a lot over COVID. He was on a show about failure, and it's so interesting. I love the failure part of life. And I think tennis teaches you that better than anything else in the world, because you fail all the damn time, which is so frustrating.
Well, I mean, I think Alcaraz said it at the start of Monte Carlo, said, people say I've been playing badly and I'm not up to my side, but I'm telling you, I'm playing well.
Yeah.
But you got to give credit to the other guys, how well they play. And the standards are so close. The margins are so small. It is, and it's going like that.
Correct.
And so, the difference between, 250 in the world is very small now.
Yeah. I just did Billie Jean King Cup tennis, and it was USA versus Denmark, and neither of the Danes was inside the world's top 700. And yet they gave a good showing against the USA, who were all in the top 100. And so you're right, the level of tennis, and that's why I feel, I don't know about when you listen to tennis commentary, but I find it frustrating when people are quite negative, especially ones who have never, ever got to any kind of grade, because they have absolutely no idea how difficult that sport is. In fact, all sports, to get to the top level of anything, you have put your life's work, your dedication, you put so many things aside. And so I do find that hard when I hear people criticize extraordinary tennis players, how anyone is criticizing Carlos Alcaraz, who has the best personality, the best nature, doesn't he? And he's smiling on court. I would pay money any day of the week to watch him play.
Yeah, and I think golf does that better, actually. I think golf, when you hear commentary and stuff on the golf, is if you're in the tournament, which is true, if you're in the tournament, you're incredible to start with.
Yeah.
And then, if you win a couple of matches in the tournament, it's damn good going, and it's really, really hard to do. And that's when you see what Novak and Rafa and Roger achieved. That consistency, the ability to take that pressure week in and week out,
yes,
and come out with enough motivation to keep doing it year after year after year. Even their soft years, which they all had, where they, I think I was just damn tired, were still incredible years.
Yes.
Shame they dropped to number 3. But I think people underestimate the energy that and focus that something like that takes. It's just, it's mind-boggling. It's almost inhuman.
I remember hearing something about Novak. I think it was 2011 when he won the US Open. That was the final major he won that year. And someone told me that that year he had had a chunk of chocolate the entire year, one little
Yes.
piece of chocolate.
That was his reward for winning it. He allowed himself to eat a little cube of chocolate.
Yeah, the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the discipline, the dedication that takes. I have one of those every other hour.
But you're not addicted.
It's just superb. Exactly. I find these athletes, and particularly we're around them all the time. Serena, on the women's side, Martina Navratilova, who was a massive idol of mine, Steffi Graf, who I had the good fortune to meet alongside Andre Agassi, who was so incredibly lovely. She and I, after the interview we did in Las Vegas at his academy, which is extraordinary. And if every professional sports person did something like Agassi has done, the world would be a much, much better place. This place had 100% graduation rate. It was in nowhere in Las Vegas where the poverty was off the charts, crime was off the charts, and it was a lottery to get into the school. Everyone was suited and booted. It was clean. It was beautiful. 100% graduation rate to college at this academy that Andre Agassi founded. And he and Steffi were there.
Trying to spread it out in the States now. Spread it out.
Say again,
I think
Dave?
they're trying to spread it wider in the States. Yeah.
And I think Andy Roddick has started to do it as well, from what I've been hearing.
Oh, brilliant.
But isn't that just a phenomenal thing to look back, and you've given these kids, not just one child, but you've given thousands of children a completely different life.
Yes. I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And I spoke to her at the end of the interview, and we were just talking like mums waiting to pick up their kids. And she was someone that I just thought, I mean, it's beautiful, the best legs of all time.
Yes.
Just an incredible player. I remember watching her and Heinz Guntard practice at Wimbledon. It was the year I played juniors there. And I watched for an hour, mesmerised, because they didn't say a word to each other. They hit cross-court forehand, down the line backhand, backhand cross-court, backhand down the line. This went on for an hour, neither of them talking to each other, just boom, 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 no breaks. It was mind-blowing. Yeah. And that was my first real realization of how good these people are.
Brilliant. Second question. We got
All right,
diverted.
Second question. All right, if this is going to be a little hard. So what advice would you give to me for the rest of my life?
It is a very, very difficult question, because when you give advice, you're presuming that somebody needs it.
I do.
My answer is a little bit of question back to you is, do you still have a goal of something that you want to achieve that's bigger than yourself?
Yes. Do you want more than that?
I would love a little bit more, because now I'm very curious and fascinated.
Well, my goal is huge in broadcasting industry. I would like the chance to be doing Olympics on air, doing tennis on air, doing golf on air. I would love to do all the Olympics. I would love to work for the BBC at the top level, Claire Balding like. I want to sort of break new ground, I suppose. I want to do as much as I possibly can within my living years.
I think my advice to you would be to say that that's not up to you, but it's not up to you. And just keep going, Rory McIlroy style, and see what happens.
And this is relevant, isn't it, for everyone listening? You don't have to be in broadcasting. You could be in banking. You could be a mother. But it's just, how do you achieve all your goals? And hope that you don't have any, when you're 80, you don't look back and have any regrets.
But I don't think the regret can come from not getting a goal. I think the regret can come from not steadily working towards it.
Yeah.
Whether you get there or not, I mean, obviously it's wonderful if you do, but you can do a lot of amazing things in your life on your way to something really big that may or may not happen.
Yes.
So I think, when people say enjoy the journey, I mean, for me, that's how I interpret it, is enjoy going for it and just keep steadily working towards it, and good things will happen and shit things will happen.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you never know, because it's not all up to us. You know, the world is a big place, and there's plenty of smart people, and there's,
Yeah.
you know, but you can't get caught up and think of that. Is just do what you do well, and keep going, and always have one eye open to opportunity. Because
Yeah.
sometimes the opportunity comes and you just miss it.
You're right. And I think you also have to hustle in life a little bit. You have to
Oh yeah,
ask
yeah.
for
That's
things,
what I
don't
say.
you?
It's not up to you, but it's not up to you.
Yeah.
You have to really put in the work, and you have to be moving the dials all the time towards what you want. And
Yes.
but whether it turns out or not is who
Not up to
knows
you.
why it does for
Yeah.
some and not for others. I mean, you know, maybe it's you have no idea why. It'll be small things or nothing at all. It's
Yeah.
just the right place, right time, wrong place, wrong time. You know, so those, you know, those are all things beyond control. But I would say, you know, the one piece of advice I'd say is, you're doing well, just keep going, and trust your instincts.
Mm. I think that's a really good one, trusting your instincts, because it's so easy, isn't it, to second guess yourself, think about something
And
else.
try to force things.
Yes.
When you don't trust your instinct, and something looks glittery, but deep down you know it's not right, but it looks like it's right and everything, you know. And I would say you are well positioned because you trusted your instinct on your children and made an absolutely huge and brave decision,
Yeah.
which you now say was the right decision. And the fact that you were able to do that once, I believe that the glittery prize that might not be the right one
Yeah.
comes your way, and then I'd just say trust your instinct again.
Yeah.
And because the real prize will be out there somewhere that you might not be able to see.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you actually don't know. That was another thing I think that Alain de Botton was saying, the philosopher, that, you know, we all worry about things going on in the world, don't we? We look at the news. And I was just thinking last night, I was just, I watched Adolescence. I don't know if you watched that.
Yes, I have, yes.
And we watched the last 2 episodes, which, I mean, the shooting of it was great. The story was a bit mixed. I thought there was a lot that they missed out. That was my personal opinion, how a parent would react if a child did that, if your child did that. But it was coming to my mind how, you know, how sad a lot of people live their lives, you know, and it's, some kids have so much opportunity and luck and others don't. But you can't worry about that as a human being. If we worried about everything that was going on in the world, you wouldn't be able to move. You wouldn't be able to get out of bed.
No.
And he talked about that during the COVID times. He said, you can't control this stuff, so don't worry about it. And I think I've got better at that. And I don't know if that's more of a female thing. Maybe you can tell me, Dave, to worry about things that you literally cannot control. I think men are better at seeing the practical side of it and compartmentalizing what they can actually do things about and what they can't. But I think women worry about everything, and you just can't go there because it's too much for one human to handle.
I mean, I think women are naturally more nurturing, and therefore, if that's in you, the default is to see pain and try to eliminate it.
Yeah.
But you know, sport teaches you that, you know, control what you can control, and in life it's actually the same thing. You can't control the news, and you can't control what they put in the news, and you can't control, you know, that earthquake that happened, or you know, and the devastation that it causes. If you could, you'd stop it, but you can't. So
Right.
you know, I think our number one responsibility is to try and save ourselves, not the world.
Yeah.
And if you can
Charity
save
begins at
yourself,
home, kind of thing.
you got a chance of helping a few other people.
Yes.
And you know, people who have a huge platform like an Andre Agassi and they use it for so much good, phenomenal. But if you can use your platform to help a small amount of people, you're still helping.
Yes.
And the reason I do this podcast is to talk to fascinating people. And originally I called it David Sammel Nuggets, but then I thought that's a bit selfish because it's also other people's nuggets, So I should have just called it maybe Nuggets. People like mix it up with McDonald's. So, but it's like, I've been lucky. I've done quite a lot in my life, but there'll be people who look at me and go, "You've done nothing in your life," So
well, they're idiots.
That everything's relative. But if somebody can listen to this and walk away and go, and maybe for the rest of their life they remember one thing that's helped them over and over again. You started off and you said you got a couple of sayings that you say to yourself, and I can't. One of them really hit me well. It hit me so well. I have to listen to it again.
It's the Woody Allen one.
Yes,
80% of life is just showing up. The other one I love is comparison is the thief of joy. I think that's brilliant.
Yes. And again, I think one of the best antidotes to comparison is, remember, everybody's life is a mess in some form or other. They'll have shit going on in their life. Michelle Obama actually opened up with Obama saying how messy he was and she'd never go in his office and he'd keep all the crap in there and all that stuff. Now, it doesn't mean a mess is always a bad thing, but we all have our quirks and our issues.
Definitely.
And so if you're comparing yourself to people who are supposedly got it all together, just remember, it's just not true. Nobody does. We talk about Roger Federer. He's been up at night with his kids being ill, and and he's lost his rag with his kids or something. Everybody, and he'll have decisions he's had to make that didn't go as well as he wanted, or everybody has their problems. So when you're comparing to these beautiful people on social media, just remember, I always think, I wonder what their mess is.
Correct.
and that immediately okay, it all looks very nice, but I wonder what their mess is.
Yeah.
And
look at just coming up with that actually makes me quite angry, because I saw a picture on social media of one of the Kardashians. I can't remember which it was, and it was her as a teenager. And she was just a very normal looking teenager, really completely normal, maybe slightly on the chubby side, a little bit, acne, kind of hair. And then they showed a picture of her now, and she's had so much work done. She's not even comparable from that person. So actually this Kardashian, and again, I can't remember which one it is not Kim, doesn't look anything like that one. So it's not real. And our kids, unfortunately, are seeing these completely fake people and comparing themselves with this person that doesn't actually exist. And I do find that very annoying.
Yes, but it's their deal. But I again remind you, if you get into her life, yes, she might look $1 million and everything and paid for it and everything like that. But at the end of the day, she's still got to live life as a human being, and she will have her mess. And part of the mess might be that she doesn't believe in the person that she has made herself into. You don't know what, I'm not saying it is, but there are a million things that could be going on in their heads that make their lives very, very difficult that you have no idea. So, good luck to them. I always say, if that's what they want to do, but I'm sure there's mess in there. So, it's not going to intimidate me or make me feel jealous or anything like that, because, Anthony Robbins did this. We're going on a bit now, but Anthony Robbins did this. Was a fantastic thing. He said, write down your biggest problem and put it in an envelope, seal it, and put it on the table at the back of the room. So everybody does this. And they said, okay, you now have to go and pick up somebody else's problem Okay, if you had that choice, but you have to live with their problem, whatever it is.
Ouch.
Because everyone's like, oh, and then it's like, hold on a second. Whatever their problem is, you have to live it.
Okay.
Now, how many of you want to go and pick up someone else's problem?
No, thank you.
And suddenly everybody's going, because you don't know. I mean, you pick up somebody who's, got liver disease or something. I mean, you just don't know. You got somebody, So ultimately, the problems we know best are our own. And we're the best ones to actually sort them out.
Yeah.
And we're the only ones who can. And if you ever, really pissed off at your own problems, well, you're the solution.
Correct.
And if you don't want to be the solution, do you want to live with somebody else's problem?
Right.
Because you might think their life is absolutely unbelievable, but you don't know. And you also don't know 10 years down the line what it's going to be like.
Yep.
So it's a real waste of time to compare, because our life is to learn how to manage and cope with our own problems and develop as human beings and be happier as we learn how to manage our own shit better.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think, I think you're 100% right. It's just, I think for young people and girls in particular, the pressure on them that's coming because of these essentially fake people is really, really tough. And I do fear for young people. And I also speak to a lot of colleagues and younger people, and so many people now don't want children. They're fearful of the world as it is, and really that is our only function. And some of us are lucky enough to have children, because there are some people that want them and can't have them. But really, we're here on this world to have children and keep the human race alive.
But have
so
confidence,
many people are fearful.
be brave, have the kid if you want one, not because the world says maybe it's not a good idea, and trust that you'll be able to bring them up and in a way that will have them with their own minds being able to discern from this crap.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, because there's so many brilliant young people who are incredible for their age and everything like that. So there's always the downside, and there's the very. I'm more of an optimist that somehow we'll figure it out. Not everybody, but enough will figure it out and show the way to enough that the world will always be pretty decent.
Yes.
I mean, and look, there's a lot of horror out there, and I'm not, but there's always been a lot of horror.
Yeah.
If you look back and go Roman times, well, yeah, you in a village when they come along and smash you to pieces, that wasn't fun, and the 1900s, with toilets outside and everything, the world develops and develops and develops, but as people, you want to try and just, cope the best that you can.
Right.
But be brave, because, you can manage your mind.
And as you said at the beginning of the first part of this podcast, life for most of us has never actually been better. And we can have whatever we want essentially today and maybe tomorrow.
Yes. And I mean, as much poverty as there is, in the world, this thing has made it easier for people to start businesses and actually sell things and reach a wider audience. And there are more and more tools to get out of poverty. And, I cannot sit here and say nothing's easy. And if you haven't had good guidance and anything like that, and any opportunity, it's probably almost impossible. But like you said, you can't. I think just slowly the dial is moving in the right direction, even though we can never notice it because it's so slow.
Yeah.
But that's the optimism in me.
Yeah. And I'm an optimist as well. I think that's important to be. My husband is slightly pessimistic. I don't know about Joy, but he always says we kind of balance out, because I'm so optimistic. that he has to be the counterbalance.
I mean, I don't know who said this, but somebody said this, and it amused me. Is we don't know enough to be pessimistic.
That's brilliant. I like
I don't
that.
really
We've
know
come out
what
with
it
some
means.
real
But
clangers today, Dave.
I'm sorry.
We've come out with some great stuff today.
Yes. Thank you very much for being on the show. It's been
Pleasure.
an absolute pleasure, and we'll speak again soon.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.